259, not 259, 250.
Woo! He's got his inner Kelsey.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second segment, episode 259 of Sold with Updike Pugh. I am Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh, and today we thought we would share with you some of our thoughts on why owning investment property pays off bigly.
There are 5 things that we can focus on, and then I'm going to show you the numbers that show you how you determine the why and how you determine what your return is.
There's a lot.
There are so many people that say things like, well, I just want something that cash flows.
That is,
if unless you're paying cash or you're putting 50% down, it's not going to cash flow.
And you're actually going to show a point why it's not always best to use your own money.
Absolutely.
So This is really interesting. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about your money and how to make more of that.
So number one, you have a steady income stream during the entire time that you own the property.
Exactly.
Keep it rented. You might miss a month here or there with the changeover of tenants. You kind of learn how to back those up a bit, because most leases allow the seller or the owner of the property to start showing the property once the tenant is given their 30-day notice.
We've all rented, and it's 60 days here in Dallas.
Many places it is. Yeah. So you will always have that steady stream of cash flow.
The next thing that we want to kind of hit on is appreciation. Now, houses in Dallas typically have that nice slow, and I think in the last 10 years we've never seen a dip in the price evaluations. And it's really great because in the last 3 years, there's been some really big months where they've even hit 10 and 13%. And those are the ones that we can actually track in MLS. So this is a really great way to get a secondary boost to your investment rather than just paying it off.
And there are some really incredible tax benefits in owning residential real estate. The tax benefits are that, well, you obviously get to write off all of your expenses against the income of the property, and that's how you determine your profit. But beyond that, one of the things that you also get when you file your tax return is you get amortization or depreciation that is amortized over. The IRS tells you how long to do it, and it's with residential property, it's 27 and a half years. So you basically take your basis of the property, divide it by 27 and a half, and that's how much each year's depreciation you get to take.
And leveraging. This is something that you're not going to get to do if you buy stocks. This is something that is specific to real estate. So rather than actually buy a stock completely outright, if we actually use that as a metaphor, moving towards a house, you can actually finance this. So you get putting down 5 to 25%, depending on what type of house this is or investment property. This allows you not to actually have to use up all of your income, which then allows you to actually buy more if you qualify. So this is a really unique element to the way that real estate allows you to build generational wealth.
And the last point we wanted to bring up was the diversification that this allows you to get in your portfolio. You probably max out your 401k with your employer to get everything that they match for you. You may have a Roth IRA somewhere that you throw money into post-tax. This fits in really well. But one of the things that I see makes real estate different than stocks is you not only get that steady income stream. Yes, when you own stock, you can get dividends, but that is, it's optional. By the board of directors get to decide whether you do or not. But you also have much faster growth in these than what we've seen with stock portfolios over the last 20 years.
It's interesting because I think, real quick, I think it was your brother who found that he had invested $3,000 into a stock, and that after 20 years it was worth $60,000. But if you would have taken that same $3,000 and used it as a down payment, there's no way that you would have only made $60,000 on a piece of property.
No,
it's not the same one-to-one. I think that was the first time that I ever really saw the dramatic difference just in what numbers are. And so this next set of slides that we're going to go through are actually going to break down like return on investment, how it is calculated, and also is going to point out that leveraging component that looks a little bit different here.
So I'm not going to put the whole spreadsheet up. I'm going to break this down into certain parts. And we're going to look at this from two perspectives. On the left, we have if you're paying cash for an investment property, And on the right where it says conventional loan, that is where you're financing 85% of that of the loan of that. I calculated this based on a 7% interest rate, 30-year amortization, and as you go down through these, you'll see in a cash transaction, you're going to have about $1,000 in closing costs. So your total get-in is your total basis is about $451,000. When you do your loan, you have the purchase price of the mortgage. You have about $4,000 in closing costs because of the cost of the mortgage. So you're going to have about a $454 basis right as you purchase.
So it's almost the exact same thing. And if we look and scooch over to the next slide, that's going to allow us to calculate what gross income is. And gross income, based on the $450,000 home that we're metaphorically talking about or hypothetically talking about, this gives us 12 months at $2,500. That's roughly a good income on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this area. That gives you $30,000 a month, and that is for
a year,
and that is for both sides of this house. The next slide.
So these are annual expenses that you're going to get to deduct. Again, on the left, we're going to be looking if you bought the property with cash, and on the right is if you have done a mortgage with it. So on the one difference that you see there is the difference in the interest that is paid when you have the mortgage. I ran an amortization schedule on the loan that I described a minute ago, and the first year's interest that you would pay is that $24,441. All other expenses are equal. So in this instance, if you're a cash owner, you're a little over $12,000 out of pocket with your expenses, and then if you were a mortgage person, you're about $36,500 in annual expenses.
And this annual expenses is going to change every year in that interest and on the maintenance, property taxes as well. But the interest is going to change because that is actually going to drop down every year. That actually shrinks a bit. The first 7 years are super heavy, and towards the end, it's almost none. So this is a really good way for this to actually, again, shift the way that your money is working for you, and that is a great way to invest. Look at the next slide, and that's going to be calculating the gross income and annual expenses and bringing that down to the actual raw number.
So as you get all the way down to the bottom, you see you have your income, you deduct all your expenses. If you're a cash owner, you are going to have about $12,115 in total expenses, and then on the mortgage side, you have $36,556.
And again, the biggest difference on this is going to be the actual interest of $24,000.
So so if you're a cash buyer, I think we can probably go to the next slide. If you're a cash buyer, you're still going to have quite a bit of profit that comes because you don't have that mortgage involved. Can you back up? Is that hard to do? As you see on the right-hand side, where you're actually out of pocket $36,556, that's going to leave you a negative of about $6,500 a year that is going to be your loss. Now let's show you how to kind of recover some of that loss. This next slide, I just wanted to show you how that interest breakdown occurs. I just want to show you how the interest breakdown occurs. Let's move on. It's a little too much detail. So here's one of the really big things about owning property, and it's the appreciation that we talked about. And Weston, you were dead on when you said our properties, just very, very steady Eddie increase. And so all I did was I calculated a 5% annual increase in the appreciation of the property. And so you can see you start out at $450,000 in 2024. By 2030, which is really only 7 years down the road, you're at $603,000, and you've done really nothing but kept up the property. So while this money is not going into your pocket, let's say you're losing that $6,000 a year over there with your mortgage, $500 a month roughly. That $500 a month is turning that $450,000 into $637,000 in 7 years.
See, we actually have a client right now that we're about to list a property for them, and they bought it for $67,000 and are today, 12 years later, going to bring it on for $460,000. And it has been an investment property and has allowed this kind of money to be made.
And it can.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one more slide. That was the last one. Okay. So that's really the big benefit that you get. If you are in a position where you can pay cash, you certainly can get a good return on your investment. If you have leveraged the property and done that 85% loan to value mortgage, that is where you're using other people's money to achieve the same goal, and because you've only got 15% invested in that with your down payment and your closing cost, your return is actually a lot higher on an annual basis, because all you have invested is that $65,000 or so.
It's a huge benefit. So it gets you closer to 16% of return on investment as a percentage point when you actually use the minimum amount to pay down versus paying cash all up front, which is a big takeaway on this, is that there is a huge way to win on the interest rates.
A couple of other ways that you can own investment property. If you say you're in a position that you own your primary residence somewhere, you can do a home equity line of credit in most instances and tap into up to 80% of the appraised value of your property. Now, if you, let's say that it's a $500,000 house and you owe $200,000 on it, that $200,000 is going to be considered in that 80% number. So you have to have sizable equity in it for that to really make sense to do.
One of the things to keep in mind is that this is such a good way to make money that you can look at all of the investment groups that are out there now that are gobbling up these $300,000 to $500,000 properties. And if they're putting their numbers to it and their finances have said yes is a go, this is definitely something that you should look into it, diversify, and let us know if we can help you.
If you have any questions about it, give us a call, put a note in down below. We always watch that, and that is, if there's anything. Sorry, I got a little lost there.
You did.
Sorry. Driving on down. So if there's any other topics you want us to talk about, please let us know. Just put those in the comments and we'll make it happen.
And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.